Gotcha. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Nick at 9, an opera variety show hosted by me, Nicholas Brownlee, right here on the TDO Network. Now, you may be wondering why I'm outside. For no other reason than if it's pretty in the winter in Germany, you go outside. So welcome to my backyard. I'm so glad to be back with you guys. Sorry about the wind noise for this episode. This episode, we're going to explore sort of what makes opera singing good. That's a hard thing. Like, I think about it like wine. We all remember our first drink of Barefoot Moscato when we were 21. And we remember that first taste of it. It was kind of like bitter and too sweet all at the same time and no discernible taste, but it kind of got the job done and hooked you to try more wines later. You could probably say the same about your first opera experience. I hope not, but maybe. But we're going to talk today about what makes a high note great. What do we as professionals look for? And what are some objective standards? And then what are some subjective standards that we look for and that we talk about? So I'm going to use the passage that you just heard that I sort of kept the high note away from you. We're going to use the passage from Che gelida manina, which is from La Bohème, which pretty much everyone, if you're at least watching this, you're probably familiar with that. And it's one of the most important high Cs in the world. The tenor high C is very famous because it's probably the hardest note of any Fach. Sopranos would like to argue about F, high F, but it's probably the hardest note of any Fach to sing. So join me as I take you through some opera high notes as your opera sommelier, if you will. So I'm going to go inside because it's beautiful, but it's freezing. Okay, up first, we got OG, Alfredo Kraus. Join me. Man, it's so much warmer in here. Holy cow, it's freezing. So up first, like I said, is Alfredo Kraus. So a couple of things before we get started to think about. Sure, it's wildly subjective. One man's trash is another man's treasure. That's true in opera almost more than any other art form. But some things that are sort of objective for you to listen to. First and foremost, on the high C, is it in tune? Does it sound like poiché m'ha preso stanza la spec, and not la spec or la spec? So in tune, very, very important. Does it sound like the same person? So does it sound like poiché m'ha la spec, or does it sound like la spec? Does it sound like the same voice that's singing the high C, that's singing the F before it, right? Very important. And then finally, quality of tone. What is the quality of tone? If it's a little bit pushed, it'll have a weird husky vibrato. And you'll hear it, trust me, you'll hear the difference. So we'll walk you through. So those are three things: in tune, sound like the same person, and quality of tone. So here we go. Alfredo, take it away. For me, that's incredible C, right? All the tenors here are going to go crazy over that one because they're like, every professional tenor thinks Kraus is the best because he sort of exemplifies what they want to sound like where they want their ring. So for me, this is a great example of a first C because it's sort of that traditional yin tenor sound that you hear. Now, why do tenors sing like that? Well, a lot of tenors sing like that is because you want that cut. Right? A high C is very high, highest note that most tenors sing, and they want it to cut over an orchestra, which at this point you can hear is quite loud. So the thing is they're trying to get the most they can get out of their face bones for resonance. So instead of going la huspe ho, they're thinking la huspe hi, hi. You hear tenors do that. It's also called the tenor hook, right? So there's that. But for me, where Alfredo's falls a little bit short, forgive me tenors, is that you can feel the little bit of huskiness, the little bit of push, and for me, it doesn't sound like a homogeneous sound from top to bottom. Again, it's incredible. Don't come for me. I love Kraus. But we're just sort of talking what do we hear? What do I hear? For me, he has this big, beautiful voice, and it's got three dimensions, and then when he gets to the C, he sort of gets spread, and he goes la speranza. The vowel here is la speranza, or hope. La speranza. So he really does that. So listen to that again and see if you can hear that same thing. C, but that's a great C to get us started. Okay, up next, let's go to our next voice, which I'm very excited about. It's the one of two Americans on the list. So Richard Tucker up next. Take it away, bro. I mean, that's like classic Richard Tucker. So a couple of quick things you need to know about this C. Not often, back in the day, not really anymore, but this aria would get transposed, which just means instead of singing La Spe, they would do it a half step lower, meaning they would go La, La, Spe, instead of... And now, we all do that, right? When you're listening to Christina Aguilera and she starts blaring and belting high, and you have to drop the octave, that's the same thing these guys are doing, right? Richard Tucker famously, later in his life, dropped this aria down. Here, that really is a high C. Very impressive. So what's different about this in juxtaposing with the Krauss, for me, is that Richard Tucker is sort of like, the analogy would be he's trying to make a Mack truck do what a Lamborghini can do. He has this huge instrument and he sang a lot of big repertoire, Otello and a lot of big Verdi. And so for him, this is a little bit lighter. So he's like, La Haspe, ha. And something really interesting here is that he sort of modifies the vowel. All that just means is instead of singing La Spera, La Haspe, he's singing La Haspera. So see if you can hear that in this next one. It's really cool. It's what a lot of big voices do. So let's listen to that one more time and listen for it. Tucker's the man. Golly, Tucker's the man. Okay, next up, we're going to go to something a little more modern, and we're going to see how Roberto Alagna approaches this bad boy. Take it away, baby. That for me is fantastic. Now listen, I've had the pleasure of hearing, unlike these earlier guys, of course, I've had the pleasure of hearing Alagna live, and I know that sound. It is huge and visceral and sort of like, you know, if we haven't really been doing the wine comparison, but if we were going to do the wine comparison, it's like a Malbec. It's just huge and just ready to just like limestone your palate to death. And the Malbec's like, bring me a steak. I shall honor it with a fight for your palate. Right? That to me is what Alagna is. And it's this huge, meaty, really thrilling sound. And so here you can hear that. And so these bigger voices, when they sing high C's, that's the tippity tip top of their range. And so that's why it's so visceral and why it hits you so much. So for me, it's like, is it in tune? Absolutely. I think it's brilliantly in tune. Does it sound like the same person? Yes, if I heard that C on the road, I'd be like, that's Alagna immediately. Now, I'm an Alagna nerd, but nonetheless. And then finally, the quality of tone, I think it's just absolutely beautiful. You can hear how he goes a little bit too much to the ah vowel, the haspe, and he gets a ah instead of ah. It gets a little bit spread on him, a little bit wide. And so the vibrato, the chords vibrato is a natural phenomenon that happens when everything's working in your voice the right way. Go read about it on your own time, or not, it's all good. But it's this thing that happens where you don't want too much air coming and you don't want not enough air coming, because air is what brings the vocal cords or vocal folds together. Long story short, that was a ridiculous 5-second pedagogy lesson. Alagna misses it here just a little bit. And he gets a little wide open and you can hear it. So listen on this C and tell me if you can hear the same. Pretty good. It's spectacular. I mean, I don't know what else to say. That's pretty good. All right, that's good. That's good. Okay, and up next, we're going to go to one of my favorite versions of this C of all time, and it's another huge tenor favorite, nerd favorite, is UC Bjorling. What a handsome devil, right? You kidding me? Take it away, bro. At some point when you're sort of deciding, okay, this is how I'm going to listen to music and I want to learn more about opera, you know, the sort of when you're deciding that, the heart wants what the heart wants. If the heart wants like Francia box wine, then that's what the heart needs. For me, Bjorling does everything wrong and equally right all at the same time. He's sort of that, for me, that anomaly that brings us all together. And by the way, I don't know if you're wondering what makes you qualified to talk about tenors, you're a bass baritone. Nothing, but I host the show, so why not? But also, all of my groomsmen were tenors with the exception of one, handsome group of men, except one Theo Hoffman, and if you get him drunk enough, he will do a tenor impression that'll blow you away. So, all of my friends, we all get together, we listen to Bjorling, and it's like, who is this guy? He's so strong. Whatever you do and whatever you do in your profession, I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, or you're a Uber driver. There's someone in your profession that just sort of breaks all the rules, but they're just incredible. And that's Bjorling for me. La Hospet. That's not the way it's supposed to work. To be that aggressive, to just go up, he just sings. And then he has so much left that it goes a little bit sharp meaning it goes a little bit high, just a little, because he's so visceral, and then he's able to crescendo it. Crescendo just means get louder. He's able to get louder at the end of it. He gets stronger as the note goes, which sort of defies what you're supposed to do. It's an incredible use of just a throat that's blessed by God, in my opinion. Let's hear Bjorling one more time. My goodness. Okay, up next, we got two left. New father, extraordinary tenor, medium husband. We should ask Monica. Galliano Salas. Let's hear what you got, bruh. This is in a competition too, so. That's pretty special. I think it's so interesting to listen to all those in a row and then get to a more modern version of it. Now, I don't want to go into how high Cs have developed and how tenors used to sing them in sort of what we call falsetto, and now they sing them in more of a chest voice, even though I just sort of went into it. Do some research on that. It's really fascinating. But the modern high C has gotten so much more visceral and bigger and more exciting, in my opinion, over time. It's become so much more what we would call, quote unquote, on the body or hooked or anchored, and less about getting it sort of in the Kraus space, and more about getting it in the space, which makes it much scarier, but it makes it way more exciting. So it's very, very interesting. Galliano, by the way, he won this competition and the audience prize, Ava Marton competition. Easy to win when you sing high Cs like that. But Galliano has that perfect mix of old school and new school, in my opinion. You really can, it's beautifully in tune, right in the center of the pitch. It is absolutely sounds like Galliano from top to bottom. And then most importantly, the quality of tone is still sweet. That's the thing that's so special, I think, about Galliano. And there's a lot of modern singers out there who are singing the crap out of this aria and this high C. I picked Galliano because I love him, but also I think it's incredible. It's the sweetness of tone. There's no push. Now, I love Bjorling, but there's no push here. It's just this sweetness, visceral, just let her fly. And that to me is so exciting to listen to. Galliano, take us home. Let's listen to you one more time. You can sing, bro. You can sing, bro. Okay. Pretty special. Pretty daggum special. Okay, bravo Galliano, bravo. So, last but certainly not least, and you always go back to him, it's Pav. It's always Pavarotti. It's always going to be Pavarotti. It is seamless. It is beautiful. And what I've chosen today, what I've chosen to play for you today is one of my favorite clips of him. And it's just this thrilling, ridiculous young Pavarotti at 29, 30 years old, singing his face off. If you have a chance to watch this whole recording, if you have a chance to watch this entire program from Moscow, you should. It's every tenor's favorite video. And this to me surmises what everything we've been talking about. It's not too Kraussian and it's eh. It's not too Alagna and it's ah. It's not too Bjorling and its pushiness. It's got the sweetness of Galliano, but it's got the bigness of what we expect a big, beautiful high C to have. It's visceral and exciting and thrilling. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm going to let Pav play us out. And next time you're in an opera house, think about some of these things. What do I like? Start to curate your own taste. And for composers as well, and for genres of opera, and it's just a huge kaleidoscope of exciting, cool discovery for you and your friends. So thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to doing more of these breakdowns in the future. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please share it with your friends or leave us a comment down below of what your favorite high C is. I would love to hear. Pav, take us out, baby. Peace out, everybody.